Gaming Compute, what is up, guys? What is up? I'm in sunny San Diego for the 4th of July weekend and other activities. But today I'm gonna post about mostly about playing around with Ubersuggest with a test website. I'm not gonna mention what the website is, but I have a test website up. But I do want to kind of recap on the podcast stuff. And I don't know if it's best to say it here or to, it's not like a big announcement or anything, but just about the traffic with the podcast, about the episodes I was recording before, about trying to track traffic. I don't know if it's possible to track it without having it connected to a domain name that's a .com. I think that's the problem I'm running into. Say, for example, if a person has a Spotify podcast or Apple podcast or Megaphone podcast, you can get a domain at GoDaddy.com or whatever, and maybe like pay for their hosting and all that, or just pay for hosting, however you're going to do it. But you need to connect hosting and a domain name to your podcast, and then it would be a .com of whatever you're choosing is, like tennisball.com or microphone.com or whatever your .com is. I'm thinking that might work better. But I don't really have anything like that right now. I have a domain name that I don't use, but the content that would be connected to it, I just can't podcast about it. It's not a good, it takes so long to build a podcast. I don't see myself starting a brand new podcast just because I have a domain name, just to use the domain name on the podcast. And using, platforms such as Spotify, such as Apple. I don't really use Apple, I don't track anything in Apple necessarily, but Spotify has its own, how would you say? It has its own, what's the word I'm looking for? It's basically its own platform, so, you can get traffic through there just organically. But I guess I was going to say it has its own analytics built in that you can track. I just feel like it's not as detailed. So initially I tried to set up Google Analytics. I'm going to try to connect with the help service to see if they can help me with that. Because it was not working out for me. So I took a week in between, and I believe it was last weekend I recorded, I don't know if it was last weekend, it was before last weekend maybe, and I recorded about what I thought I was looking at for traffic for the podcast that I've been, tracking, that I've been paying for the, the paid traffic for. Because I'm trying to figure out, the details related to the paid traffic. So I will go over that. As far as what I found in the analytics, I'm gonna go over that because those have changed for the better. I just don't have the details. Now, the reason why I like Ubersuggest is because you get the details, at least some of the details. Now, you can get the SEO audit, you can get keyword research information, you can get ranking, tracking, SEO opportunity information, and under traffic estimation, it has the traffic overview as well as backlinks, a backlink overview, and then opportunities. It also has labs. And so you can go into labs, and you know, if you go to the feature, actually, yeah, you can go into labs, get labs, and basically, you have to fill out kind of a profile about it, describing your business, and then it gets you keywords, basically. Basically, you have to add a competitor as well, and then it kind of gives you keywords. But because Spotify's podcast and Apple's podcast don't have a .com, like it has that extension on the end, so it's like podcasters.spotify.com/pod/show/ whatever your show is, so that doesn't count on Ubersuggest, so you can't really track traffic on there. But if you do have a domain and you're able to use it, I found out a little secret that I think that's what it said. I found out a little secret. So basically, I told you guys I wasn't gonna use it or pay for it or use the free trial. I told you guys that. I went back on my word about that. I ended up using the free trial. I'm not sponsored by these people. I'm just giving my honest opinion. I was using the free trial. I guess my biggest disappointment is that you can't do the .com, like get the traffic for your .com. If you don't have a .com. If you don't have a domain name. And I feel like I used to be able to track traffic without a domain name, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know what the heck else I was tracking. I've had some e-commerce sites and stuff that had domain names, but I don't know. It's like you can't track, I guess, like Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Anything off of some other platform that's like holding your material, I guess you technically can't get all the traffic and SEO info out of Ubersuggest for that site. But I did notice that after paying for traffic for the month of June for the most part, because it's now July 5th. So during the month of June, I was able to see some increases. I'm just trying to get to them. Some increases in traffic. So that's good news. That's kind of what I wanted, right? I don't want to pay for something and not get anything in return. That's not a good sign if that happens. So I guess the first thing I wanted to compare about the traffic, I'm trying to find the right picture. Let me see. So I guess it didn't go up as much as I thought it did. It's at like 70 something. It looks like it was at 66, then went up to 69. I'm talking about needing 100 viewers, 100 listeners within a 60-day period. So it looks like I started tracking it when it was at about 66. What day was that? That was June 16th. So it was a little bit ago, not quite a month ago, June 16th. And according to today, we went from 66 to 72. I thought it was like 40. I thought it was way lower, honestly. I take screenshots of things so I can go back and try to look at them. But yeah, I guess the secret that I found. Sorry, I'm a little bit all over the place today. Let me see. So basically, Uber suggests the cheapest one after a 1 week trial. And the reason why I didn't want to sign up for a 1 week trial was because I didn't want to forget to, cancel it. And then it's like $49 a month for the cheapest one after the 1 week trial, the 7-day trial. That's free. The trial's free. You have to put in your card information. And so if you forget to cancel it, it's gonna be an issue. And then last week, I instead of recording, I got the free trial. Can't remember if I played around with it at all last weekend, but today was day 6, and I luckily remembered. But when I went to cancel my $49 a month subscription fee that was going to start being charged tomorrow on the 6th, the 6th of July, I basically today instead got the lifetime offer of a one-time fee of $99. I sat on that decision for a bit because I'm like, $99 is a lot to pay, but it's the price of 2 months for a one-time flat fee. So now it's not a monthly thing. I just have access to this plan, the plan that I've already been using. You can, with the $99 plan, the one-time $99 plan, instead of basically if you're paying $49 a month, that's like hundreds of dollars. That's hundreds of dollars a year. Like what, like $600 a year, just under $600 a year, versus $99 once. I mean, I feel like I use this software a lot, but I can't usually get all the analytics out of it because I'm just using the free trials, and you don't have access to everything in the free trial. In the free trial you have access to more, but in the one that's just the free version that you can just use, I've been using it for years at this point, and not getting all the full data that I was trying to get to. So at least now I can get that information, but the only issue is I can only get it for .coms. And so, I mean, I already knew that going in, because that's some of the issue I was coming across before. But let me see. You get 100 searches per day, unlimited keyword ideas displayed, one project with the ability to track up to 25 keywords, and 2 competitors. Sorry. I think my LinkedIn is on. What's that noise? What was that noise? Actually, I don't know if my LinkedIn is on. But that's a LinkedIn noise, is it not? That's the LinkedIn, you got a message noise. I do not know. I don't know where that came from. But let's see. So yeah, you get a site audit to crawl up to 150 pages. up to 100 backlinks displayed in the backlinks report, and then training modules, support and access to recorded live coaching calls. So, that's fine. That's fine. So if I look at this website, this podcast that I am tracking the analytics for, if I go just on the podcast and look at the analytics at this point, I don't remember what things were at exactly the last time I recorded and posted on here on this podcast about this test podcast, but it's definitely been getting steady traffic. I've noticed about 9% are from Bangladesh as far as the I'm literally yawning, as far as the audience, and 82% from the US. And if you break it down, it breaks it down more for you. Rajshahi division and Mymensingh. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And then mostly from Apple Podcasts. Like almost exclusively from Apple Podcasts. I don't remember what the numbers were last time. Plays per episode on average, it says 16. In the last 7 days, audience size 60. Spotify impressions 2,745. And Spotify followers 45. So it's still pretty low on that end. Like, it's getting traffic to it, but it doesn't have a whole lot of engagement. 99.4% Apple Podcasts, 0.6% other platforms. In the same episodes that were popular in the past are remaining popular now. Now, something to note. So the weird thing is that I think because I have so many episodes on this podcast that I'm talking about, and I don't know how many episodes I have. I don't know where to find that number, but it's a lot. It's got to be a lot by now. I'd say on average, because there was a point where I posted almost every day, but even if I say 50, 52 weeks in a year for about 4 years, it's got at least 200 episodes on here. And so there are quite a few episodes. So there are a lot of people visiting each episode. It looks like I'm getting hundreds of plays per day, but if I'm just scrolling, looking at the episodes, the amount of plays per episode, it's like 20, 12, 11, 16, 19, 18, 142, 145, 144, 15, 19, 23. So it's not, hundreds and hundreds per episode. I'm seeing which episodes do have in that 100 range, 100 plays range. The ones that I just read that were like 140 something plays, those were in May. So I wasn't even promoting this back in May, I don't think. Well, yeah, it was a little bit in May. Actually, I take that back. I was promoting this a little bit in May when I started posting new content of a different, not completely different topic, but you know how you have like a whole genre. Say if I was talking about tractors, I'm not, but if it was about tractors, and then I'm talking about repairs, and if most of the podcast had been about tractor repairs, and then all of a sudden I shifted into talking about, you know, rebuilding a tractor from scratch or something like a DIY kind of thing. I don't even know. But say if that's an example of what I was doing, just within the genre, kind of switching to a topic that's relevant, but that I had never really talked about too much before. That's pretty much what I did in May, in the month of May. So it seems like a couple of those episodes really caught some traction. And the cool thing about podcasts, like YouTube, like blogging, people can go back through your stuff and like connect to older material. And so even when I'm scrolling back to like February of 2024, there's still a lot of episodes. Most of them are in the 20 plays range. Some of them in the 40 plays range. But even going all the way back, now I'm scrolling down, just like talking to you guys about what I'm looking at, just visually what I'm seeing with these numbers. When I'm scrolling back through, now we're like beginning of December 2023, going back to, November 2023, around that time, there's certain topics that seem to catch on. So basically, going through, even past 2023, when I'm looking at the numbers, I can kind of see, in about September of 2023, I was posting different types of content back then too, and those numbers look like some of those May 2024 numbers, but maybe because it's so old, it's like over a year ago now. I'm looking at like last summer, last August in 2023. None of these topics have anything to do with what I was posting, but at that time I was posting just about every single day. So just the posting schedule might have made it so that, the traffic was about 5 times what it is now or something. Like, it's like, 'It's like in the 140 range. So I guess what I'm learning from this is posting every day helps, and then going back and then looking through some of the topics of the content. There's certain topics that seem to kind of stick out that lead to that higher amount of traffic. So the daily posting definitely made the numbers go from about 20 or so a day to like 140, 160 a day. So that's the difference, it looks like, on this specific podcast. The difference between posting once a week or once every other week versus posting once a day. The traffic is significantly higher. Significantly higher. It's like, let me see. Like 7 times. 7 times higher posting every day versus a couple times. I'll call it maybe 2 to 3 times a month, maybe. And some episodes were just heavy hitting episodes just because of the topic. Now, there were some topics, I might have talked about this before, where I tried to connect, some details from, yeah, there were some topics where I tried to connect some stuff like, sorry, I'm trying to find my words here. I tried to connect I'm trying to think what was I trying to connect. Oh yeah, I tried to connect to like certain like Netflix content, I think, or like other content. It wasn't on purpose. It wasn't on purpose. There was something I was reviewing and posting about that the person just happened to make like a YouTube special and had like a program, like a show on YouTube. And I had just been posting about their content, and their name. Like, it was just the timing. Like, they got popular around the time that I kind of just discovered something by them on YouTube, and I basically was talking about some topics related to what they said on YouTube, and then I basically put some links in the description. I don't remember if I put that Netflix link. Did I? I can see if I did that. Let me see if I did that. I can't see. I have to look at the, okay, what did I put? I'm trying to look at what I put in the description. Nope. Wait, I don't see it. No backlinks. Well, no. It was a backlink to a YouTube video. So backlinks are helpful. Posting often is helpful. Having a long term of posts is helpful. It kind of depends. So I would say what I mean by helpful is it depends what your goals are. It depends what your goals are. My goals with this current site that I'm talking about, the podcast that I'm talking about here, the test podcast, I'm trying to monetize it so that, I can get so that I can get to the point where I can offer monthly subscriptions. Now, I don't know if Patreon charges you to set up an account as a creator. I don't think it does. Don't quote me on that. I thought I had set one up before but never used it, and I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. They may have, I don't know if they take like a monthly fee or charge you any fee at all to set up a Patreon account. I would feel like similar to other accounts, it's likely, I mean, I don't even know why I'm talking about this because I don't even know for sure, but I feel like it would be more likely that they would let you set up a free account through Patreon, and then, if you do make any money off of your content, they take a percentage. I would think that would be more likely what the case was, but I cannot confirm this. I don't really know because I've never really used it. Like, like that. I might have set up an account somewhere. I don't know for sure if I did, and if I did, I don't know anything about it. But there are other ways to get subscriptions that you can offer a monthly subscription for people to, for you to be able to get paid for, people subscribing to your content. I mean, you can post it elsewhere. I've seen people post portions, like teaser content, that's still valuable on YouTube, or I've never really seen them do like Spotify to Patreon. I've mostly seen YouTube to Patreon. People going on YouTube, posting a little bit of valuable information, maybe like a 15-minute video, but then on, on YouTube, on Patreon, you get like an hour and a half of like the full, in-depth, detailed episode. I think I've seen that for educational content. I've seen that for even like entertainment content. So I don't think that's the only way. Like, it depends what your goals are. If your goals are to try to get people to pay for your content, without it being like just like a monetized podcast, like monetized just only in the way of having ads, host read ads, or company sponsored ads, or even having access to a sponsorship, and being able to like post about that. If that's not the case, and you have to have a lot of traffic to be able to get money from that, because you have to have a lot of traffic, people clicking on at least listening to the ads, or listening to the episodes where your ads are embedded in the episode. Depending what it is, they might be able to like click on something and buy something, and you might be able to get some kind of kickback from like an affiliate link or something like that. So like Amazon, like say if I've seen people do that with like YouTube, they're like, this is the hardware that I use, and like a list of like their speakers, their laptop, their microphone, their headset, and then they basically paste a link in their description to those specific products on Amazon or wherever you can buy them. But if you use their specific link and buy through their link, you might get a discount, maybe not, but even if you don't get a discount, they might get a little bit of money. And usually they'll tell you if they get money from that. Sponsorships are going to be the companies that come to the podcaster and say, hey, can you talk about, you've probably heard a lot about AG1, you've probably heard a lot about BetterHelp, you've probably heard a lot about, like, those are the ones popular right now, SoFi. There are other ones that were popular a year ago. They tend to change, but if you watch a lot of content, you'll see that like a lot of people kind of have the same ones. The finance people have the same stuff. The vlogging people kind of have the same stuff. The party animals, the ravers, people posting like concert content, they might all have like the same type of sponsorships. They kind of stay within a niche, kind of, but not really, because I feel like BetterHelp comes up all the time. Mental health is kind of connected to a lot of things, almost everything, I would say. So I think it's kind of relevant for everything. But it's like, if you're watching or listening, either way, watching or listening to a podcast about, I don't know, window repairs or something, you probably don't need like a sponsorship for a microphone, or a sponsorship for like I don't know, like, because your audience might not be interested in certain things. You might want a sponsorship from like a company that sells curtains or blinds or something, like something more relevant to the people who are listening. But yeah, the options in Spotify for monetizing really are getting your subscriptions unlocked, or you can set up listener support. You can just do that kind of on your own and accept recurring donations from people without requiring a subscription. Now, with the donations, I don't know if you're able to offer like a special, if you donate, you can get this special episode once a month or something. I don't know if it's set up like that because that seems like it would be more of a subscription thing. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what monetization looks like overall. With it kind of depends on what your goals would be. If your goals are to monetize, that's kind of what the monetization options kind of look like for the most part. Um, if your goal is to interact more and be more like social between your, you know, within your platform, having like more of a community focus with maybe like a forum or something like that, to kind of like keep people more engaged. Maybe if you do like live streams and things like that, like on Kick or Twitch or something like that. That's like that's a whole beast of its own. But maybe if you do that every now and then, or even lives on YouTube or something, or some kind of interaction, lives on Instagram, or it doesn't even have to be lives, but something where people can kind of more passively, like a forum or like I don't know if you could set up a group chat. I've never heard of anything like that, but well, I mean, people have Discords. So Discord is kind of like a group chat in a way, like a group chat forum type of site. And those can be pretty organized too. So, Discords are pretty helpful. I just don't really know. I'm not 100% sure if people get paid through a Discord. I don't know. I'd have to look that up because that would be interesting. I've seen people have opportunities on Discord, but I don't know if I've seen people get actually paid for having like a really successful Discord. I've seen people use their Discords though. I think the coolest one I've ever seen is an internship that somebody set up to get experience, and so they basically had people building their website for them. They said this is an internship setup, and it was a temporary internship they would let people do. They had people search for outreach. Like basically, it's basically the information that your sales team would need, but they set up a Discord for people to do like discovery, like research. So looking up within a certain genre. I think it was like spas or like beauty supplies or something like that, and like searching for Instagram, are they called channels? Instagram channels, searching for, people whose Instagrams met like a certain criteria, like it had a business name and was in a certain location and everything. And they would basically have this as an internship that, and people in the Discord would be just like making all kinds of stuff, and in exchange for I guess potentially being able to work for a small business, or in exchange for something. I don't remember what it was in exchange for, but they basically set up this whole Discord that had just people just for free, just like providing content. I don't know if they were offering them like a recommendation letter or like a certification letter where they could say like this person provided all this accurate content and knows how to do all these skills, and it was more like people were skill building by working for this Discord, and it was a really popular Discord. And then it's now gone. The startup is opened because because they now have a whole bunch of customers that were provided by all the people just doing the free labor. So I've seen people use Discord like that to like build their own thing, and in the background they're kind of helping other people. But that is not something that I've seen commonly. Like I've seen people use more of like their Discord to promote a course. So they're like, you can get part of the training here. And like they always post like free training videos or whatever. But like if you want the coaching, if you want the private like courses or like attention or tutoring or whatever, you have to actually like sign up for their course or sign up or whatever, or sign up for their consultation group or whatever it is. So that isn't even really, at this point, it's not really podcasting, but those are ways that people, I've seen them kind of connect their YouTube channels to I've seen them connect their YouTube channels to platforms like that, like Discord. Like they direct people to go, check out my Discord, and there's valuable information on their Discord, and it's just like another form of engagement. So if you're trying to like interact, or if you're trying to figure out how to monetize in another way, I mean, Discord seems like it can lead to forms of monetization, like people buying your course or people signing up for like more because they have some kind of extra incentive to be a part of your Discord. So I've seen that. I've seen, I guess, like if your goals based on the analytics, if your goals are to improve anything, like if you want more plays, if you want more plays per episode or more, like a bigger audience size, if you want more impressions on Spotify or more followers on Spotify, if you want your audience to be a different audience from a different country or from a different platform or different devices, different age ranges, those are things you can consider. And then, yeah, if you're trying to like rank different episodes, I think I explained kind of something that worked well with ranking episodes. If you have backlinks for really popular creators, that tends to rank episodes, as well as certain topics. If you post enough, you do start coming across trends of topics that people want to hear more about. It might be seasonal, so be careful of that. It might be just something that's naturally trending, so be careful of that. You don't want to be like, oh, I figured out the golden item, the golden topic to speak about, and then it turns out being, oh, it's just because it was Christmas or something like that, or it's just because it's election time or whatever. Like, things do kind of change with whatever's going on in society at that time too. But sometimes you can take advantage of that and get more traffic if you do have a type of podcast where you can post about traffic relevant, like about like time relevant topics. If you can throw a little, okay, it's Christmas season, okay, it's summer solstice, okay, 4th of July, or whatever your audience would be kind of more interested in, you can kind of make things work that way. But not always, but I'm just thinking like there is kind of like a seasonal aspect to things, but you can't do that all the time. It's just like when the season is at hand, it's going to be kind of hard to make it that way. Let's see. So I think that's about all I have on this episode. It kind of just depends what you're trying to rank or what you're trying to do as far as your goals for your podcast. that's kind of how you would determine, I guess, what you're trying to do. Because a lot of times people are like, okay, I want to grow my podcast, but what does growing your podcast mean? You know, you can have a bunch of numbers of people that are just clicking through that aren't even listening to your stuff, and you know, that would be a bunch of, you know, people clicking. Do you want to count the people who are clicking on your site, coming to your site? For Spotify, they count plays as at least 60 seconds or downloaded. So at least 60 seconds of streaming or someone downloaded your episode. So that number, you know, is going to be a different number, you know, than all the other numbers that you're trying to track things for. But, you know, if you're trying to get more subscribers, if you're trying to drive more traffic from your Spotify or from your, it doesn't have to be on Spotify, but from your podcast to like another platform like Patreon or something. Or if you're trying to, you know, monetize your podcast, like meet the qualifications through Spotify to monetize your podcast, that's going to be a whole different ballgame. Like all these things are like, there's different strategies in place. And it also takes time. It's not like an overnight thing because you also have to have the episodes posted. You can't. Well, I wouldn't say you can't post one episode and like get a lot of stuff done, meet a lot of goals. It kind of depends on what the episode is. But I'm gonna be honest. I think the way that Spotify has changed to make people have to try to meet their criteria, which is fine, you know, but having to meet their specific criteria to be able to meet their expectations, just so you can get subscribers to pay, you know, that's a whole, I wouldn't say it's necessarily an issue, but it is something that is like a whole different way to try to get people to make money when I think there are other options. Like, I don't think you have to wait until you get the subscriptions. You could probably just go, like, send people straight to your Patreon. That sounds like it would be better if you just can't get to that 100 every 60 days to qualify. I mean, you might still have, like this site, you know, it has 72. The one that I'm talking about, the test podcast, has 72. I could send those 72 people over to a Patreon account, you know, and give them different content. Now, that would require creating different content, but you have 72 people that I don't know what percentage would buy, but you have 72 people that might buy. Now, figuring out what they want, that's a whole different ball game. But the cool thing about Patreon is, you know, it's pretty free flowing. You can kind of post when you want to post, but I do feel like if somebody's paying a monthly subscription on Patreon, they're gonna want something for it, something once a month or once a week or however often. So I would probably say almost just like with podcasting, but not so much. I would say when you're gonna start out, you know, create the content in advance, post the content, you know, create the content, post the content, and then have the content ready in advance. So say, I mean, you don't have to stick to this number, but just for example, make 5 worksheets or 5 lectures or whatever, or 10, you know, tutorials or whatever it is that you're going to be having people pay for. And so that buys you some weeks. So if you're posting once a week, if you have 10 pieces of content already, that would give you 10 weeks, which is, like 2.5 months. And then from that point, you'd create one a week newly, but pre-post and pre-schedule the other ones. So you'd already have 2.5 months already scheduled out. But the risk of that is you spend all that time and effort making that 2.5 months worth of content, and if it doesn't do well, then it's like, how long did it take you to create like those 10 things or those 5 things? You might consider instead posting one thing at a time, but then you have to come up with something every week or every month or however often. So you might want to figure that out first. I would say too, don't charge a large fee. I've seen Patreon accounts where they have different tiers. So you can do like a once a month for like a couple dollars, or like a twice a month for like a few more dollars, or like 7, 8, 15, 16, I don't know, not a whole lot of money, but a very small subscription fee per month or per week. Not per week, I think per month. But keep the subscription fee small so that, at least the smaller one, people are getting something. But if you think about it, how much is it worth to you? How much are you getting back? That's what you might not know until you start posting. But if it's free to post, and then Patreon is going to take a percentage. So if it's free to post, you might have luck with that. I mean, it would be an interesting project, but you could drive traffic from your podcast or your YouTube channel. I mean, YouTube has podcasting too. It's like podcasting is becoming, I don't think it's a fad, but I've seen it change right in front of my eyes. Like where it was just free. With Anchor, it was free. I was making money for free. And it just shifts and moves. And so you kind of have to shift and move with the time, which is why I'm trying different things on this test podcast. To be able to, it says I have 288 episodes. So like I said, I have over 200. Yes, I have almost 300 episodes on this test podcast. So 288 episodes is how many are on that test podcast. And it says it's on 5 other platforms. But yeah, most of the traffic was driven through Apple Podcasts. And I'm gonna see why on Uber Suggest I'm not quite able to look up the podcast details anymore, because I feel like a few weeks ago I didn't need it to be a .com domain. I was able to just use my profile link, the link that you basically share so that people can listen to your podcast. And so, let's see. Maybe I'm doing it wrong too. Let's see. I don't think I'm doing it wrong though. It'll be silly if this whole time I've been doing it wrong. Nope, it's pretty much the same thing. But yeah, I really don't know. I think that's most of what I have to talk about for today. I should probably go eat lunch. It's after 1. That's why my brain is like freaking out and moving all slow. But yeah, thanks for listening through this episode. Sorry I'm not as sharp. Had a late night. It was party time. Had a late night. but definitely much needed. Gotta work hard, play hard. Um, but yeah, that's just about it. As far as what I had to really say about what's going on for today. In the past couple weeks, because I haven't been able to post. I did record a really lengthy episode of me trying to figure out more on Google Analytics, but I was like, well, I didn't really figure out what I wanted to figure out, so I'm not gonna really use Google Analytics right now. I do still have to figure that piece out. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what I found out this week. And since the last time I posted, just kind of ideas that come to mind about what to consider. Consider your goals, consider what you want to, what you kind of want to get out of podcasting. If it is, the creative side of things, the help help that you're providing to a community, usually that should be pretty much at the top, is wanting to create value of some form, benefiting others. Because I mean, it's the other people that are engaging with your content that is going to help you get to the other goals. Like, if you don't want anybody listening to it, if it's just like a journal that's private and locked, and you don't want anybody to listen to it, that's not quite casting. You're not casting. You're not broadcasting. You're not podcasting. You're not casting. You're basically just recording, which is fine. But usually people would go outside of something like a journal, an audio journal, into podcasting because they want other people to listen. Maybe they don't want everybody to listen, but they want others to hear. And maybe they want a community, maybe they want the interaction, maybe they want the traffic, maybe they want to create lessons or courses or artwork or music or something that others can, value. Maybe they want to create something like that for other people to kind of tune into and enjoy, and they want to get paid for it. But to figure that out, you kind of either have to stumble upon something that you can record about, or you have to be able to let me see, you either stumble upon something you can record about, or you you kind of trial and error test it. But it does help to have a lot of content, long term of long-term content, posting often. Usually traffic is what people are looking for, because the more traffic you have, the more types of goals you can kind of reach. That kind of gives you more variety. But then within those areas, there's going to be like sub goals too. I might need to talk about that next. Like breaking down each kind of category. I was just mostly looking through Spotify for podcasters. I was mostly just looking through it and talking about what I see on there and the changes with Ubersuggest. Because I feel like I recorded an episode on here not long ago. Did I not? Did I not record an episode looking at Ubersuggest? I don't know. I gotta go back and check if I did that. Because I'm kind of confused. I'm like, I feel like I spent the whole episode looking at analytics about this podcast this test podcast, and now I'm like, well, what was I talking about then? So I don't really understand what happened there, but if I figure it out, I'll try and come back to it because I kind of wanted to look at the analytics again. The analytics outside of Spotify for podcasters analytics, but that's all I've got for now as far as the analytics. And there has been some improvement, but I think the goal is going to be switching. The reason I was mentioning Patreon and all that is because I think that might be a better window. That would be a form of monetization that I wouldn't have to rely on Spotify for much other than to drive the traffic. I think if I could increase the amount of posts, look at some of those, that's kind of what I'm going to do next. Increase some of the posts. I'm going to write this down. Increase some of the posts. So increase how many I'm posting to nearly daily, if not. So I would say at least two weekly, and then that should give me about a 7K boost. Not 7K, 7 times, 7x, not K, X, not K, 7x boost in traffic. Drive that traffic to some kind of Patreon content that once per month for a couple bucks at first until I had maybe, I don't know, 10 pieces of content. That's almost a year's worth of content. I don't know what it would be. It would probably be some type of worksheet related thing, and then I don't know if this specific podcast, the test podcast, would do well with the Discord, because I don't really know what would be on it. I'd have to see. It's not really something I'm super passionate about, but I mean, Discord gives you some kind of like interaction. You know, people can interact with one another, and you can interact with them. But depending what you're talking about, you might not want that. Like if it's something political or something religious or something, you know, like a sensitive topic that people are just going to be like fighting, you might not want that. So it kind of depends on what you're posting about. Like I've seen it work well, but I don't know what type of site it wouldn't work well for. That's just kind of what I'm thinking. I can't imagine wanting to go into a Discord that you own and that you set up and having to like, you know, monitor the chat and all that and like kick people out and have some kind of person there. And you also don't want an open window for scamming. Discord does have people who kind of pretend to represent staff that work for the Discord, and they try to like maybe get people's information and scam them, and you wouldn't want one of your listeners getting scammed off of that. But I mean, like, you can't always think of, you know, how are other people gonna unfortunately click on the wrong thing. But if it got big enough, you'd probably have to have someone going in and like making sure there's no like weird activity, or you'd have to do it yourself, and that can be a lot of extra work. So it kind of depends. I think, you know, if you can get subscriptions off of Spotify, and I don't know how much they pay per month. I don't know what that is. I need to look at it, but whatever that plan looks like, you'd want to make for sure that you're not making more on another platform without having to wait on them for the 60-day mark to kind of mark you off and be like, okay, you qualify now, or you get disqualified for every month, every 2-month period. So say, like, yeah, you get disqualified every 2-month period that you don't meet their criteria of 100 listeners per month, or 100 listeners per 60 days, so it's per 2 months. So imagine if you do get subscriptions opened up to you after 2 months, you get subscribers, but then 2 months later, you lose your monetization because you get, say, like, you went from 105 to now you're at like 98 or something, and now you're under 100. Then you have to wait 2 whole months to see if you can even get your subscriptions back. So it's kind of like, is that worth it? You don't really have a lot of control over that. Versus Patreon, you'd probably have more control over Patreon, in all honesty. So, okay, I'm still talking. But I don't know. I like to talk about ideas. It's just I wish I had more ideas. I don't post on here as much as I'd like to because I don't have ideas to post about all the time. I'm kind of trying to get in the habit, though, of at least posting on the weekends or if I have holidays and stuff. But a lot of it's kind of, I'm running around doing this trial and error stuff, trying to find the stuff. I'm trying to find the details that people aren't talking about, because people are talking about, usually when you look up how to monetize a podcast, how to, improve your podcast, you find the same information. There's like 7 steps, 9 steps, 10 steps, 11 steps, whatever. And it's like, okay, you know all the big things to do, and you do need to do those things. But what are the little things? Like, what are the smaller things that you can try to add and try to check on? I mean, the test podcast is one that I put down for a while. So the analytics, everything kind of dropped, for a while. All the numbers dropped. So I'm kind of building it up since about April, May or so. I started trying to build it up more. So, yeah, but all right, this is getting long. Hopefully this was helpful. The ideas that I talked about, I'm going to try to post more about those. I still need to figure out this Google Analytics thing. I still need to figure out what the heck is different about Uber Suggest now. If I'm doing something wrong, I need to see what I was doing before, because I have a feeling either Uber Suggest has changed or something I'm doing has changed. Which, whatever that is, I do not know. But maybe it only takes .com domain names, and it doesn't take, links to other stuff anymore. Like other platforms, unless you own a domain. So I don't know. It's very possible. Everything changes. So everything in this tech world changes. So, all right, guys, have a good 4th of July weekend. I hope you guys are off work. I'm glad to be off work because I've been tired, and I'm developing some new strategies for the job for myself anyways. So I'm gonna try to implement them when I go back into work this week. But for now, I'm still off Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So this next 3 days, I'm trying to post some stuff, get ahead on some content creation, and catch up with some friends. Enjoy San Diego. I was at La Jolla yesterday. La Jolla Shores. enjoying the ocean with some friends, the beach with some friends. Drove straight down from LA. It took me almost 3 hours. Paid somebody to park in their house's driveway. Because there was really no parking. Because I got there around 3, which is a way harder time to find parking. Alright, well. I mean, that's about all I've kind of got to mention. Yeah, that's it for now. Alright, thanks for listening.